Welcome to Tank Tops and Sweaters, you guys. We're so happy to be here. I'm Kelly, and this is Yvette.
Hi,
guys. Today, we're going to talk about moving through anxiety. So just a quick note that Yvette and I are not therapists. We're just moms and fitness professionals that are passionate about creating a community where we can empower each other and lift each other up. And we want to create a space where we can talk about mental health in ways that we can help each other move through stress and anxiety. So I'm sure, as most of you know, there's a huge need to bring mental health to the forefront of the conversation. In a study in 2020, a survey in 2020 from the NAMI, that 21% of adults experience mental illness. So it's 1 in 5 adults, 52.9 million people. So we are not alone. And anxiety disorders affect about 48 million people in the US. And that is not even including what it's doing to our kiddos.
which after the pandemic, I think has affected them more than we could ever know. And we're still probably going to be witnessing and seeing more and more of that coming out as time goes on. Let's define anxiety, though. What is anxiety? It is an emotional, physical, behavioral symptoms that can create an unpleasant feeling that is stressful. It's an excessive worry. It can be all-consuming and interfere with your daily life. There are different types. There's general anxiety, social anxiety, separation anxiety, panic disorder, selective mutism, obsessive compulsive, and traumatic stress disorder, as well as all kinds of phobias. How it affects your body is when you are feeling anxious, what usually happens to your body. Like, try and think of any time that you may feel anxious. And let me clarify this as well. Everyone has anxiety at some point. You will feel your heart rate start to come up, your breath starts to change, maybe becomes quicker, more shallow. Your heartbeat is beating really much faster. You may start to feel hot or flushed. The heat will rise. You can feel like nauseous, butterflies in your stomach. It's just our bodies physically talking to us that the body has perceived a certain threat, and it's sending you signals that something isn't right, something is wrong here. This is your body's fight or flight response. Anxiety can activate your sympathetic nervous system and lead the body to release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline.
So Yvette and I are no strangers to anxiety with ourselves or our kids. So I come from a family with anxiety. I remember my grandmother twiddling her thumbs all the time just because she was so full of anxiety. But back then we didn't talk about it. We didn't say that it was anxiety. We didn't talk about how we were feeling. You were called a worry wart or something like that. So I was definitely a worried child. Not that anybody ever diagnosed it as anxiety disorder till I was older. But I have 3 kids. They all have their own form of anxiety. So we have been in my family dealing with this since my oldest was probably, I think we realized it when he was in grade school. And so counselors, doctors, therapists, psychiatrists, all kinds of things, learning to understand what was happening in their bodies when they got anxiety, or what they were and what made them anxious. And so there's we've been through cognitive behavioral therapy, we've been through brain mapping, we've been through medications, we've been through, I mean, you name it, we've probably been through it, EMDR, and there are things that work. But I think what we have found as a family, the best thing that happened to us was be able to talk about it, to bring it to the forefront. There's nothing wrong with you. This is normal. So many people are dealing with this. There's no shame in this. There is no need to hide it. Let's deal with it. Let's talk about it. Let's deal with it. And the second is, we have found that movement is huge in exercise, in helping you cope and move through those anxious feelings and those anxious thoughts?
Yeah. So in my family and our experience with anxiety, um, honestly, it was until I got married to my husband that I really started to notice anxiety, to understand anxiety, to even know what it was about, because I feel like it was just coming to the forefront. Mental health was just coming around to where we're recognizing it. And actually being able to talk about it instead of pushing it aside. So, what's really interesting is my husband suffers from anxiety and it has run through his family. Um, and when he was a child, he had a panic attack in a pool, and the doctor diagnosed him with being allergic to chlorine. That's what they said it was, when clearly it was a panic attack. So that is why it's so important for right now that we start discussing it and talking about it and bringing it up to the forefront, because then we can discuss that with our child. We can help him, give him tools so that when he's having panic attacks or has anxiety, we can help talk him through it. I feel that anxiety, even though it comes in different forms for everybody, it's also a very personal thing that each person suffers from it very differently. Each person deals with it very differently. So I feel like it's such a personal thing in many respects, but I've seen it in action where it completely can shut down somebody so fast. I feel like the logical part of your brain is completely shut off, and the illogical and the fear and everything else starts to take over. And it's literally just trying to reconnect with that logical brain. All I can say is movement has been life saving. When you can actually physically move that body in any way, in any way that you can, like seriously, just move your arms, legs, whatever, get them up, get them walking, get them moving. It makes a big, big difference, and it'll help them to move forward, because it's like a big old wall that just shoots up and you have to somehow get them through, around, or anywhere else. Um, Also, like with myself, having had feelings of anxiety, just knowing that when I have moved my body physically, danced or walked or run or whatever was I needed to do, I felt like 100 times better. Like my perspective changed. My brain physically made that connection that I needed to get back into things, to start thinking through it instead of like having that disconnect.
And I think as Americans, we just don't get enough exercise. And that's part of the reason why our anxiety levels are so high. The American Heart Association recommends you get 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise a week. And there are so many people that don't even get out of the house and take a walk. And that's why we're seeing also another reason, it's just compounding the reasons why we're seeing this mental health crisis that I think we're seeing on top of COVID and just everything that's going on in the world. We're not moving. And so when you're sedentary, your brain's kind of like, what, we were made to move.
Mhm.
Exercise, I mean, studies have shown that people who are physically active have less rates of anxiety and depression than sedentary people. So it really does make a huge difference in just getting your body moving, even if it's just to take a walk or something like that.
Yeah, exercise. Let's go into some different things about exercise. It is a powerful depression and anxiety reducer. Performing different types of physical activity or learning new types of exercise can change the way your brain is wired, which can help improve your overall cognition and mental acuity. Like, that's a big, huge thing when you think about how just exercise can rewire your brain into helping you. Um, Decreases muscle tension, which, if you think about it, when you're anxious or you're stressed, everything just
Everything
tightens up in a
tensing
ball.
up.
Yep. Which which is really a very physical thing. Again, when you're tightening up like this, your muscles are tensing, everything is going, "Arr!" It is not a good feeling. So,
Yeah.
so decreases muscle tension, which lowers the body's contribution to anxiety, releases stored up, built up energy that anxiety can cause. I have many people, clients that I've talked to who will just go for a run and run as hard and as fast as they
Yes.
can, or jump on a bike and bike as
Especially
fast
when you're
as
mad.
they can. Yeah, especially when you're mad.
Mad,
Exactly.
anxious, it just helps all of that. It puts you in a totally different
Yes.
perspective.
Yes, and you just like get it out, like kickboxing, punching, like whatever you need to do. Like I remember when I was a teenager, if I was really, really mad, I would take a pillow and I just start punching it or hitting it on the bed and just be like, ah, that's
Yeah, just
it's
getting that.
helpful.
Yes,
Yes,
it is. It is
it
very
is
helpful.
so helpful. So releases that store. It improves sleep. So that is a big one right here, because improving sleep when you are anxious, it can wake you up in the middle of the night and those thoughts will
Those
pop into
thoughts
your
keep
head
coming.
and then you can't go to sleep and then you're losing that sleep. You're losing that restorative energy that you really need. Improves your self-esteem. Oh my gosh, big, big one right there because we all need that confidence. We all need that boost. Serves as a distraction or coping mechanism. Oh, yes. So this is a big one. Kelly and I can attest to. We both teach a form of exercise that really you have to concentrate wholly on. You cannot think about anything else. You have to be in that moment. You have to be thinking of every muscle that you are moving, placement of those muscles, how those muscles are moving, um, how you're breathing, is your core tightened? It just, the list goes on and on. So during those classes, during our times with you, we're not allowing you to think, to let those thoughts
All
come in,
those worries.
all those worries, all those negative thoughts. It is all about being in the moment right then and there and concentrating on that movement. So exercise can serve as an awesome coping and mechanism and distraction, and it creates opportunities for social interaction. We are meant to be social creatures. It doesn't mean like you have to go find the biggest group and start socially interacting with them, especially if you have social anxiety.
Yeah,
But,
not
you
gonna
know,
help.
yes, that doesn't help. But finding even a small group or even one person that you can work out with that will encourage you and you can encourage as well. You will find such great enjoyment just by encouraging somebody else, and then vice versa. If they in turn encourage you, then that will definitely help boost that self-esteem.
Yeah, and like you were talking about with the brain, so physical activity can actually activate the frontal lobes of the brain that are responsible for executive function. So when like which then helps control the lizard brain, our amygdala, when we want to go into that freeze, shut down, fight or
Mhm.
flight, and then it really activates the part of our brain that does that executive function, that does the thinking process instead of just the reacting. So that's
Mhm.
another thing about the brain. But it's also great to just for memory, for as we age and want to keep our brain moving and our you know everything still firing. It's good for battling dementia and Alzheimer's
Yes.
for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, all the diseases and things that will start to pop up will then, start to diminish or really help with that. Just moving in general, definitely. So moving outside, let's talk about that because that's a big one for me. I love that one. Moving outside can lower your tension and anger and allow for the absorption of vitamin D, which helps manage depressive symptoms. So that sunshine, which Kelly, you got it all, girl. Like you get it all the time. You're in
We
Oregon.
got lots of
A little
sunshine.
harder to come by over here. Though right now we're getting a lot of it. And I just came back from Hawaii, so it's been awesome. But we have to find it where we can. But even just getting outside, breathing in that oxygen, just being in a state where you're moving your body. I find that when I move my family outside, when they're stuck in a situation or they're stuck in the rooms, um, when I move them outside and I move outside, it's a whole nother story. It like completely changes perspective, completely changes the thought patterns. We go into a completely different environment. It just helps with that. It goes back to that coping mechanism. It
Yeah.
goes back to that distraction, because again, when you anxiety likes to help you focus on one thing, and usually that one thing is fear or worry or stress, and instead you have to turn that, you have to make that thought something different. And so
That's,
that,
go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
being outside, no, yeah, just being outside, I feel like is such a huge thing.
It is. And talking about that, like just changing that thought, sometimes when you get stuck in such an anxiety cycle, and I've seen it happen to my girls a lot, um, you it's really hard to find a way to move through it. You know that once you get out there and move, you're going to feel better, but it's actually getting to that point and
Mm-hmm,
moving. So I
mm-hmm,
think a lot of it too is how do we find time in our daily routines to add exercise in to relieve that anxiety?
mm-hmm.
And some of it starts with just really small changes. There's a concept called tiny habits, and there's another book for it too. I forget what the second one is. It's Tiny Habits, and they're really the same thing. They're just two different books. But it really is taking a little thing and attaching it to something you already do. So, like for example, if you want to do push-ups, I brush my teeth every morning. So every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to do at least one push-up. So when you're down there, you're like, oh, I've already done tiny habits. That's it. That's it. So if I'm down there and I'm going to do one push-up, I may as well do five because I'm already down here doing push-ups. It's something, it's just like when we put our medication next to our toothbrush or whatever we do to remember it, it's creating that with an exercise or a walk. So I put the coffee on to brew and I go out and I walk around the block a couple times or something like that. So tiny habits is a great way to start small and kind of add that physical activity into your day in a way that you can kind of stick to it and it's not so overwhelming. Another way is SMART goals. If anybody's ever heard of SMART goals, they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So you set a very specific goal for yourself. I want to put physical activity into my daily routine. And then measurable would be, okay, so how many times a week am I going to do that? And how long am I going to do that for? And then attainable, it's not something that's like, so I'm going to go walk 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. We know that's not going to happen, right? So we have to make it something attainable and something relevant. Like it has to be relevant to getting that physical exercise into my daily routine. And then it's time bound. So like I'm going to give myself 4 weeks. And in that 4 weeks, then I'm going to reassess this goal. And if I need to add more to it, I add more to it. If I need to adjust it, I adjust it. But just setting some goals or creating the tiny habits of moving will, it may not automatically ease the anxiety, but over time, at least in my family, we've seen really beneficial things to creating a habit of daily movement.
Definitely. And that's a really good thought that you just had, Kelly, because it's not like an immediate, it's going to be dramatically different for everybody.
Right.
Sometimes it's baby steps.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a little bit at a time. And you just have to kind of keep going, and you just have to keep, repeating and keep on trying and keep doing it. As long as you're moving forward, as long as you keep going, it'll help.
It
It'll
happened.
happen. It'll change.
Yeah.
The change will happen. It's just, it may not be like absolutely immediately
Right.
where you
Right.
see that dramatic difference. Yeah. I tell my son that all the time. Like, this is not going to be an overnight
We're
change.
working towards
Yeah.
it.
This is like small steps,
Yes,
little steps
exactly.
forward. But you
Exactly.
just have to keep moving forward for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. So tips for movement. We're gonna switch into that. So walking outside for 15 minutes or more, studies have shown that walking outside for that amount of time or more has made a dramatic difference in people helping people with anxiety. Again, I said dramatic, but I meant like it's
Yeah,
gonna help. It's gonna help people.
it does help.
Yes, keep on going, baby steps. For me personally, I try and get out there and do at least 2 miles or more every day, which is about an hour. And it makes such a huge difference for me. But if you don't have that amount of time and you just need a reset, like seriously, walking around the block a couple of times, or walking down to a park and coming back, whatever it is, or like Kelly said, while she's making her coffee, she just walks around the block a few times while her coffee's getting brewed. So that's just simple things that we can do. Another technique that I learned, which was really helpful when my child was very young, is the squeeze and hold technique. And that is where we would lay down flat on the ground and you would squeeze from your toes. You would first squeeze your toes, then you would squeeze your legs, then you would squeeze your core, then you would squeeze your shoulders and your arms, your fingers, and then all the way up to your head. And then when you squeeze through in your head right here, you would like squeeze your jaw and you would breathe in and hold your breath for a count of, we did 10. And I would count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blow out. And then we would do the reverse. You would release your jaw, you would release, your tension in your shoulders, you release your arms, then your fingers and your hands, then down your legs. And then the last thing was your toes. And what that does was it was a reset. It was like it shut everything down basically. And then it reset the brain. It's like I called it a hard reset. And it worked. It was like the best thing when we were younger. So that is kind of one thing that you can try and do. And then breathing. I mean, you can't, that's like one of the top things is breathing. Thank you, yoga. Inhaling and exhaling. Meditation obviously is a huge thing, but the inhale and exhale again is just, inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And just not only is that a reset, but it's also just a mental quieting, I call it, because it makes you kind of sort of quiet down those thoughts and that thinking in your head and help you to really concentrate on just that breathing part. So that's a good one. And then the vagus nerve reset, which Kelly is going to talk about because she is more on that than I am.
So just really quick on the breathing before I go to the vagus nerve work. What works for me really well is box breathing. So I inhale for 4 and I hold it for 4. And then I exhale for 4 and hold it for 4. And I just keep repeating it. And it just kind of balances, kind of lets those thoughts go and just does, like you said, like a reset. So that's kind of like my breathing trick. It's my own little meditation because I have a really hard time meditating.
I love that. Can I just say that almost reminds me of like when I was floating in the ocean and the waves and just
And it's
that
got that cadence.
motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a cadence. It's like a
Yeah.
rhythm that you kind of create.
Right.
So calming.
Right.
Love it.
So as Tammy's teaching me, because she knows she's on here, there's a lot of ways to reset your vagus nerve, but I'm just going to tell you some of the simple ones that I've been doing myself and I've actually taught my husband to do and my daughter to do.
Nice.
And so some of them sound silly. And I think part of the silliness of one of them is, at least with my family, is that kind of breaks up the anxiety too. So we pretend like you're taking a big sip of water and you put it in your mouth. And I'm going to do it, you guys. And we're just going to swish it back and forth. So all those vagus nerve endings that are in your mouth and the palate of your roof of your mouth, that's going to help reset them. And also for me, kind of makes me salivate a little bit more, I think. And so I think that helps. So that's one. Singing, we yawn, just like opening the mouth and closing it. We've been doing that, just making like, even if they're silly sounds, because I started with like you do in yoga, and just
Mhm.
making those sounds that vibrate the vocal cords, because that's where the vagus nerve runs down. So there are so many things that we can do, and some of them are so simple like that. But even if you get a little kid and you say, okay, let's pretend we've got, a big drink of water in our mouth and we're going to swish it around. I mean, think about what that does. They're doing something that's helping their nervous system, but they also think it's hysterical because they have nothing in their mouth. So I mean, there's so many things to do with any age that just takes just that moment to reset and let your body, calm down, and let that executive function say, you know what, we've got this. We can handle this.
Yeah, because definitely that is right. And that we have that feeling of we can't handle it.
Yeah.
And so allowing that brain to come back to, oh, no, 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 we're good.
We good.
We can do this.
We can do
We
this.
can do
We can
this.
do this. Yeah, just a little reminder.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm gonna be like swishing water in my mouth all day long.
It's a great one, but it's easy, and you don't really have to teach anybody how to do it.
Oh,
You can do it, and I just think it's one of my go-to easy ones
I
for
love it.
sure.
And you know what's so funny? And now that I think about when I'm stressed sometimes and I'm like writing something or typing something, I'll do that.
You didn't even know you were doing it.
No, I'm helping
That's
myself.
fantastic. Yeah.
I am helping myself. Okay, so walking for 30 minutes a day, these are just some suggestions. Take a virtual Pilates class from Kelly or a bar class from me. Just, wink, wink, hint,
I'm
hint.
working on getting the virtual ones going, but you can come in and take
Yeah.
one anytime.
Yes, if you're in Florida, go see Kelly. Go for a swim, play a game outside with your kids, take your adult kids or teenage kids for a walk. Mine doesn't have a choice. I make him go because I
I
know
talk to mine on the phone sometimes while I'm walking.
yes, exactly. And just, I think as teenagers, especially little kids, I think it's so much easier to get them outside, to get them playing, to get them moving, to get them going. When they become teenagers to adults, young adults, it's hard for them to understand. They're growing, they're forming their own opinions. They think they know what's
Yeah.
best for them. So it's just trying to get them to move their bodies to get outside to do something for themselves. And when we show them those examples, when we're
Yeah.
exhibiting those examples, I think that's a huge, huge thing to do for our kids as well.
Yeah, I think modeling it for him is like the
Mhm.
biggest thing we can do for them. Is not just say, you need to move, but I move too, and this is why I move, and
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and things like that. So I think the biggest thing, Yvette and I really want everybody to know, is that we want to create community where we can help each other, empower each other, lift each other up. If you're having a hard time and you need suggestions, we want to be that community that you guys can come to and ask for help or suggestions, or just to, get some good information. We try really hard to do our research and give you the best information that we have and that we've learned through our fitness careers and being moms of kids with anxieties, and I have anxiety myself. So stuff like that. So we just really want to bring this to the forefront and make it a conversation that's common and not shameful or hard. It is hard, but we don't want to
It's
put
hard.
we don't want to put any bad light on it. We want people to know they're not alone, that we're all in this together, and we want to empower each other to move and work through some of the stuff we're all feeling
Oh,
in
yes,
these days.
definitely. Because we all have anxiety, all of us, in some
Absolutely.
form or another. And if we
Yeah.
are not dealing with it ourselves, we're helping others in our family who are dealing with it. So
Right.
we need to support each other and empower each other for sure. And just create that inclusive environment for everyone. Definitely. Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Well, if you guys want to turn your mics on, if you have any questions, if you want to talk about anything.
Yes. And welcome, Kristen. Thank you for coming. You
Hi,
made
Kristen. Kristen, this is Tammy. Tammy,
Hi.
this is Kristen.
Hi.
And Kristen, this is Kelly.
Hi.
Nice to meet you guys. Yeah, nice to meet you.
I'm in Bend, Oregon, so I get a lot of sunshine here.
You do. That's true. You do. You get more than I do. You're
Yes.
right.
And I'm actually in Michigan.
Oh, boy.
And we do not. I mean,
No.
well, in the summer, like today, it's been actually been pretty sunny, but come fall and winter, it's very overcast, and it's hard sometimes.
I
But
bet. Yeah.
You can come visit the sunshine anytime, guys.
no, we've already had this conversation. Yeah, no, you guys did a really nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Are we still recording?
We can stop.
Yes, we can stop.
Okay.
So just one thing before we stop recording, Yvette and I just kind of want to get a little, like an ending that we really like to say. We kind of grouped everything together. And so our thing for the week is we want everybody to find a way to bend with curiosity, be compassionate, and stay wild.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
You guys stay on. She'll stop the recording.